Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the last panel session for today. We are in the room for AI in finance. Anyone in the wrong room? No? Okay. Okay, we are very honored today to have with us industry experts to discuss the application and impact of AI in the financial sector, and also to cast highlights in AI Verify Foundation. My name is Geraldine, and I'm handing over today to our moderator, Professor Edward Teo. Mr. Ted Teo, Mr. Ng Kaijie, and Mr. Ming. Okay, I'll hand over to Prof.
Okay, yes. Thank you so much for coming in. And a warm welcome. I hope nobody is suffering from food coma, because this is really going to be a very, very heavy topic. AI is really very heavy, plus finance. So if you are in the wrong panels, this is the AI in finance panel, right? So I'm really happy to have you. And for many others out there online, we have close to more than 2,000 people who have signed up online. So today we will have a very interesting time. But first and foremost, can I have the QR code for the Q&A, please? Thank you. All right, yes. So what I have here is I have a tablet over here, and we are consolidating all the Q&A questions. And just allow me, and feel free to take a snapshot of this, send all the questions you need over here itself, anytime, because we will expect this to be a very interactive one. And today, I am in the presence of significant industry leaders over here. So a bit about myself. My name is Edward Teo. I'm the adjunct associate professor here in NUS, and I sit on listed companies, plus I sit on investment committee. So I'm a VC. And together with me, we have people who are in the regulation space. We have Kaijie over here, who actually is the director of the CEO office in IMDA, Information Media Development Authorities. And we have a very big regulations and guidelines called AI Verify, which he will go through on later on as part of the whole conversations. Beside him, we have Mr. Ming. He's actually the founders and emerging partners for Krux Asia. This is actually a venture builders, and he himself has been an angel investor, and he has tons of experiences starting up companies, growing up startups, and as well as managing business that is more than 100 million with one of the local tech companies. He will share more later on. And last but not least, we also have one of us. He's Mr. Ted Teo. He's the assistant professor here in the School of Business, plus the chief representative of East West Bank. And East West Bank is really huge in our space because they do the venture supports between 10 to 40 million for many of the companies who are going over to US for listings or for venture capital. So he himself in his course of work has already been working with a lot of venture capital. So we have everybody in the value chain, in the financial sector here together with us. So please, last call for the Q&As, especially for those online. Take a snapshot. If you have any questions, please send it across. I will have it with me anytime. Okay, and then we will go straight. All right, yes. So I would like to invite Mr. Kaijie over here to actually introduce a little bit more about what he has done, and also more importantly is introduce more about AI Verify Foundation, which is a very important piece of guidelines and framework that Singapore have rolled out, IMDA have rolled out, and very soon this is going to be integrated with some initiative under MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore. Please, a big round of applause for Mr. Kaijie.
Right. Hi. Hi everyone, glad to be here. So just a little bit of introduction about myself. So I'm Kaijie, currently heading up special projects in the CEO's office for IMDA itself. I guess the special thing about IMDA is that we're both, in a way, a regulator as well as an industry developer. So just want to clarify out there that AI governance, we're not regulating it, right now, not like the EU AI Act. So we do see that actually AI Verify, the product as well as AI Verify Foundation is actually helping industry in that sense to be able to build up their capabilities in terms of testing AI and making sure that AI is safe and trustworthy. The whole reason behind this, of course, is that as AI becomes so much more prevalent, similar to food that we consume or medicine that we consume, will we then care about actually safety and trustworthiness? The answer is probably yes. If you eat your food and you take your medicine, and then you want to know, right, essentially that actually where's the source coming from, what kind of side effects it may have. Similarly for AI as well. So essentially, AI Verify Foundation is actually an open source foundation modeled after the Linux Foundation. The mission is really, as you see, to make AI safe and beneficial for humanity. So we look at AI testing as more of a broad base across all AI systems. Whereas then for finance, we are then working with MAS as the sector lead to be able to understand how then would there be potentially like more sector-specific kinds of guidelines for the financial industry, which may be a little bit different, say, for instance, versus vis-a-vis, say, healthcare, etc. So I've already talked a little bit about the mission, right, for AI Verify Foundation itself. There's a lot of the kind of risk that's out there. I don't need to speak too much about it. Your AI chatbot's hallucinating. I always remember this funny story, right, which is Air Canada, they had a chatbot, hallucinated a policy that was non-existent. The judge, the customer actually took Air Canada to the courts, and the judge ruled that because the chatbot was an agent of Air Canada, the policy was then upheld, even though it was non-existent. And these things are actually things that are huge risks for all corporates, right? Imagine, especially in a financial industry, whereby there was a hallucination of potentially different kinds of credit policies, or that, hey, you know, your chatbot actually then just hallucinated and extended a loan to someone which turned out to be a bad loan, essentially. That could also be very high risk. And that's also why even in the EU AI Act, they have already really delineated what are some of the high risk and low risk ones. And a lot of the finance related use cases are actually in the high risk industries. I won't talk too much about this because I see that actually there's a lot of time constraints. Primarily, I will actually talk a little bit about how we put out some of our outputs out there. You could think about it in terms of traditional AI, which is a lot of the AI that have existed pre-gen AI, right, for all of us. Discriminative AI, finance industry, you would be very familiar with this, including like models and how you actually decide whether to extend loans or not. So what we have is really traditional AI. We already have a framework, and we now have a toolkit for institutions, organizations to actually test against, to see whether they have the process checks that is actually congruent with the framework, as well as testing tools to be able to check the technical rigorousness of their models itself. Generative AI, we also came out with a framework to be able to inform organizations as to how you can actually introduce AI governance into your organization, as well as a testing toolkit to be able to evaluate your large language models in terms of how they perform according to certain safety measures or guidelines, bias, toxicity, things that we are very concerned about today. So this is roughly just how kind of like high level, what kind of principles we're adhering to. I won't talk too much about this, but this is then the technical testing toolkit. You can see that actually there are a lot of process checks for auditors, especially also in terms of like recent compliance, as well as a benchmark report for generative AI, so that then you know actually how your generative AI models are performing in that sense. Won't talk too much about this, but you could actually see that there are certain use cases that are already live right now by some of the companies that's out there. Again, then for generative AI, Project Moonshot will be quite interesting. The use case behind this, especially for developers as well as for corporates, is number one, where you develop, for instance, a large language model, you decide, right, which is the open foundation model that you want to train on. That could be, okay, do they have understanding of Singapore language and culture? Because otherwise then it's really not worth it. Maybe you want to train on some other model instead. It's also in the case of, in the course of your application development, you want to see whether it has reached a certain kind of threshold, for instance, in terms of understanding of the finance industry, to then decide whether you want it to actually go live. So that's the second part. The third part is actually this thing, quite interesting, called red teaming, which is essentially jailbreaking for some of us who are Android or iPhone enthusiasts. Essentially, trying to tease out the chatbot in terms of getting unintended outputs. And then if you actually get that, you can go back to the development cycle and try to help forget these unintended outputs so that you can actually make your large language model actually safer in that sense. So these are some of the testimonials that we have from some of the users of AI verified products. Yeah, so I'll just kind of like end it as that. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kaijie. So after understanding what are some of the frameworks that's out there, is that many of the companies, whether you're listed, you're not listed, whether you're financials or otherwise, I think it's important for us to really understand the context. Who are the players involved in this, and who are the landscapes? And to help me on that itself, I would like to invite Ted, who is actually been an adjunct faculty here with the School of Business since 2016. And he has been have more than 20 over years of financial industries. And he will share with us a little bit more about the financial service industries, plus where are the areas that these AIs are impacting? Where are the value chains? So take it away, Ted.
Yeah, thanks, Edward. Yeah, hi, I'm Ted. I'm a adjunct faculty member of NUS Business School. As Edward mentioned, I've been teaching there since 2016. I focus on teaching subject matter related to banking, bank services, risk management, and the application of financial technologies in the financial services industry. Right, so because today's panel discussion is on AI within the finance, I thought it would be good for me to give everyone an overview of what financial services industry is about, because most of us generally associate the finance service industry to those that is limited to their own personal experience, but the industry is actually extremely big. Right, so on this chart, if you can see, if you look at the entire financial services industry, you can actually categorize it into different type of major player. Those that will be those that focus on payments, and then those that have license to take deposit from the public and do lending in the bank business. Those that do investment management. Is there a pointer here? No, okay. Investment management, private banking, those are in the investment management side. And then there will be players that focus on the capital market, foreign exchange, derivative commodity, trading, etc., right? There will be players that is focusing on this area. Some of them do more than one. And beside that, there will be insurance player, and then there will be market infrastructure players. Later, I'm going to give you more example of who these players are. But if you look at this category, if you lump the first four together, that is where what generally we refer banking or bank services about, right? Most banks would serve customer in these four areas of businesses. But when you ask about where is fintech found in this industry, they can be found in any sector of that industry, from payments right up to insurance to market infrastructure. Okay, so that can help you visualize the whole thing. Okay, so these are some of the example of players, right? The players that focus on the first four sector would be the banks. Usually they are called the universal banks, where they do payments, they are in the capital market, they are in foreign exchange market, they do private banking, they take deposit, and they do lending, right? And then there will be insurance player, and then those that so-called market infrastructure, those are players in the financial services industry that provide the infrastructure so the entire financial services would be able to operate. That include your exchanges, the service provider, including accounting firm, valuer in the market who value the real estate, That include also the gyro, the ACH that we use on a regular basis for payment, the fast infrastructure. Those are the market infrastructure that's needed to support the financial services industry. So if you visualize it this way, then you can probably segregate when you see a fintech or a technology company, where do they focus their services on. If you move on to the fintech, you will also realize that most fintech are focused on a particular sector. They are usually there to compete against the incumbent, and if they do many things at the same time, they will not be able to compete against the incumbent. So usually they're also very focused on one of these sectors, either payment, either doing lending, personal investment, digital finance, or insurtech, regtech. Regtech are those that provide services to help financial institutions manage their regulatory responsibility, right? And then with all that, AI, nowadays, most of them would use some sort of AI technology, but not all of them would actually have their competitive advantage might not be solely dependent on AI technology, okay? All right, so yeah, so these are some illustration of different type of fintech players. Some of them is in the big tech space where they focus or their core competitive advantage is in a particular sector, right? Okay. And then just to broaden up the understanding of AI, those AI that is used in financial businesses and processes, they help businesses to be more competitive and more creative. There will be AI that is used in the industry as well, which is not specific to that industry, right? For example, you have a very niche player that provides services, help you to build a virtual assistant, help you to do a data analytic, right? Help you to access to cloud computing. Those could be services provided to a broad range of industry. There'll be cloud platform players. There'll be a consulting firm that help you to solve problems that's very unique to you. And there will be software in the market which you can use to apply AI technology, right? And then beyond that, there's a lot of other tools. A lot of these tools are accessible by everyday person, right? The large language model, which you are all familiar with right now, and then the Copilot, right? All these could be seen to be used within the financial services industry. Right, this page, which I later maybe going to elaborate, in general, I put together the various category of usage and application of AI in the financial services industry. I put it like the first one, outlier detection, right? Second is doing analytics and analysis. Third one is enhancing productivity or efficiency. Fourth is individualization. Last one is to help you to discover and innovate, okay? Yeah, how do I go back? Okay, so how does institutions implement this technology? Some of them, they build it themselves, but very often they actually deliver it through a partnership with another external party. We're going to talk more about it later on. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, thanks. Yep. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. I'm just flashing this Q&A. I think at this point, everybody will have all sorts of different questions. Please scan the questions, send it across to us. We want this to be as interactive as possible. Right. 2 more seconds. Okay. All good. All right. Okay. Yes. Here's where the real deal is. So these are the 4 major questions that we'll be actually trying to address to help everyone increase our understanding in this. You know, I can vaguely remember 20 over years ago when I was an undergraduate over here. I'm an AI student. Honestly, right, I don't fancy myself coming back to NUS here to take an AI course because I think that I may fail the AI course. Right now, there are so many things in the AI course across so many disciplines that is mind-boggling, really mind-boggling. Especially people like us who are working in financial institutions, dealing with regulators, dealing with money, dealing with risk. The thing that everybody wants to talk about is how do we ensure compliance? How do we ensure risk management? But how can we ensure something when we don't even know something? So in order to help us to shed some lights onto this, allow me to introduce our third panel speaker, Mr. Kao. He himself has been a successful angel investors, and he had worked as the head of Grab Rental way back then. And he is also one of the key tech leaders who have first introduced EV here in Singapore way back in 2018. And it's all over the news, so feel free to Google him. But you know, he's coming in from the angle of angels and also the venture builders. And he will kickstart is to really share, number one, first question that all of us will be discussing. what are the major challenges? Ethics, governance, what are the opportunities? Over to you.
Thanks, Edward. Yeah, so like Edward introduced myself, maybe I'll just give a slightly more detailed picture about it. I did spend past 5 years, actually it's more than 5 years ago already, but I joined Grab in 2016. I headed up the Grab Rentals team. At that point of time, I think Grab would have been seen as a very transformational business, right? And in many ways, it still is today. Transformation is a very large part of my career path. I spent a lot of it doing transformations with, last one was with Grab, earlier on with MINDEF and with WDA, right? So I have seen the challenges when it comes to transforming an industry or a business. And a lot of this transformation obviously is coming from technology. When you introduce new technology into an existing workflow, you will get pushbacks, right? And I think when you talk about these things are like hygiene factors, like data privacy, governance. I think these things are widely talked about. But I would like to perhaps highlight the one key challenge in just introducing new technology like AI is really the incumbent mindset that we all need to overcome. And I still see it today as a venture builder, right? When I look at the opportunities to introduce AI or Gen AI into a workflow or into an industry, when you talk to existing players, they will always look at it from their lens of their own processes. And that would itself present a challenge because AI or any technology may not require you to think of it from that. And I use Grab as an example, right? We are all so used to just going by the curbside and flagging any taxi that we see come down. So if you were to tell anybody to change that mindset and use the phone, that requires, like you all know, a lot of money, a lot of promo codes, a lot of incentives, right? Clearly, that's not the way to do it in fintech. We can't throw promo codes at our fellow professional peers. But that is one thing that we need to think about. How do we disrupt the status quo by introducing new technology, but still getting the buy-in, right? And just like Ted mentioned, some of that buy-in comes through partnerships, right? The incumbents would rather have a partner who will take the risk and introduce a new workflow using technology and test that out, because that's an easier way to introduce a change. And talking about introducing a change, if you want to kind of look at things internally, one of the frameworks that I try to introduce to corporates that we work with is really just a simple matrix of what is feasible versus what is the impact. And obviously, you want to look for projects that are high impact and high feasibility, right? You want to have the minimum cost of trying to change. Perhaps you don't want to change the entire audit flow in the workflow, but you only want to change one step. And this is also an example that with one of my business partners, Nexus Frontier Tech, they are an AI development firm. They have introduced very basic AI, right? Just like computer vision-based AI to workflows that involve audits. But audits can take, for example, if you were to try and verify whether the loan is still adhering to your criteria for validity, you need to do the audit on a yearly basis. He cut down, our partner Nexus cut down audit process from 30 hours to just 5 minutes. But that audit process is really one step in a multitude of other steps that involve in giving out that loan in the first place, right? So the point here is to try and look for the easiest, lowest hanging fruit, introduce AI, earn the buy-in and the confidence of the players who are executing their workflow, before you go on to expand on that. I think this is the one key mindset thing that will definitely be a challenge in introducing AI.
Okay, thank you, Ming. Yes. Other panels, would you like to chime in? What are the major challenges?
I'll share a little bit. I guess from a regulation point of view, it's a little bit of a wet blanket. But of course, Ming talked about the value creation part. I think from a regulation point of view, we do see that actually one part, especially with high-risk sectors and use cases, is that regulation is then the regulation compliance is the other key piece in that sense. And without that being kind of like clear, innovation also cannot continue in that sense, because that's the other part, right? Okay, you now have a certain POC how do you then productize it and then deploy it across your entire company and make sure that potentially like your customers are okay with it, your risk and compliance teams are okay with it, as well as the general public is okay with it, and the regulators are also okay with it. So that's some parts that's actually quite challenging in that sense. So I'll just give potentially a little bit of an example. So in the Netherlands, actually, the Dutch government had this AI algorithm to kind of suss out, okay, potential clusters of the population that is committing kind of like social welfare fraud. That's actually very controversial, right? Because you can then think of, okay, is it sussed out by ethnicity, by gender, by some family relations or family structures? And when they got when the algorithm was actually released by an investigative article, there was a huge controversy because these were things that were not kosher to people. And then if you then take that as an analogy and then think about it in the financial sector, what if actually your bank models are based on that? Deciding whether to extend a credit loan essentially is based on certain things like that. Would that be then, a kosher in that sense? Is that then what we call safe, trustworthy, and ethical kind of AI? And these are then things that we will have to grapple with, especially in terms of when financial institutions or financial organizations then potentially like work with partners or even develop things in-house. How much do we know about the AI system and what is the explainability of the AI system? What are the variables that actually come out with the final decision? That's one part. The other part of it would then be, for instance, like, is there a human in the loop to actually judge such a decision and make sure that, hey, you know what, this is something that is actually ethical, it's safe, we can actually get it going, or there is no human in the loop and everything that comes out is actually just driven by an algorithm, right? So some parts of this are actually things that the AI Verify product itself is trying to address by being able to do certain technical tests on explainability, understanding what are the variables that are powering this AI model and system. So these are the parts that actually we also have to address concurrently for innovation to be able to flourish. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Just to add, thanks. Just to add is one challenge that many organizations have when they implement AI machine learning is the lack of data or lack of good quality data. If you analyze how machine learning works or how AI works, they are very dependent on data. So if organizations want to implement this technology within their firm, so first of all, their data need to be digitized, right? If you are working based on facts or paper and stuff like that, you just will not have this technology applicable in your organization. So digitize your processes, digitize your data. Not just that, organizations need to make sure that the whole organization knows the importance of the data, and data is an asset in an organization. And that requires a lot of education and re-education on the part of the employee, because the quality of data is very important. So if they are not aware that data is going to drive their AI machine or machine learning engine, right, and the collection of the data is of poor quality, that will mean their AI engine will be of poor quality. So that are some of the things that you need to be aware of. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and after hearing the answer for the first one from all our panelists, I can smell money already. I can smell money already. So let's do a bit of deep digging here. What are the fintech startups, or for that matter, any startups who are using AI now in their solutions? Yes. So, gentlemen, where is the money? Anyone?
Okay, maybe I'll start, and more because maybe I'll put on a bit of my angel investing lens to kind of share. There's obviously a technology hype that we always have to deal with, right? Blockchain, Web3, metaverse, exactly. We all have been through that hype, right? And you need time for the technology to show maturity, right, and show value. And there was a period of time when AI was really starting to come up over the past 2 years. We started to see a lot of decks that really just wanted to apply AI to anything. And I think that is firstly the one thing that we need to pay attention to, right? as a new technology, just like our experience with mobile phones, right? We see it so common, it's in our hands. Everybody has 1 or 2 phones these days. It took a long time for mobile phone to really prove the value. And for companies like Grab or, now if you're talking about e-commerce, Lazada, Shopee, to really use mobile phones. AI is obviously not there yet, right? I think there's also a challenge where you see fintechs, startups trying to use AI to do day trading. I think this is also something that I've seen a few decks on. Yeah, I think Kaijie understands this, and I'm sure you all would have immediately assumed this would be the low-hanging fruit. But the way we want to value a real use case for a fintech using AI is really about what is the business value they are trying to create for the end users, right? AI, just like mobile technology or any other technology, would add value to a certain level. And you need to solve for that particular metrics, right? When I talk about impact and feasibility, it applies the same thing here, right? If you're looking for AI to make better decisions, are you saving manpower in the other, on the other hand? And I keep going back to my Grab experience because I think it's very relevant to how I see mobile technology used in the Grab solution versus how AI is going to solve many things in fintech. If you look at how Grab was, it really was trying to replace the call centers, right? And the call centers in Singapore, if you all don't already know, is required by regulations. So I'm coming back to AI Verify. But it's required by regulations for taxi companies to actually maintain a call center. So there's a very clear cost that comes to taxi companies, like whether we should use mobile technology to solve for the call center. And from a fintech point of view, I think we're all about numbers, right? We're all about numbers. We should be able to understand what is AI replacing, how much is it going to cost, and whether there's an ROI that's acceptable for the business to adopt that. And I think that's how you want to kind of see fintech startups. And they might be throwing a lot of solutions out at you, but some of these ROIs don't make sense. Like I say, using machine learning to do day trading. And for those who may not understand why I say that it doesn't make sense, I think all of you know day trading is a very dynamic thing. I'm not saying that you can't make money from it, but I'm saying that it will take you a lot of cost to just maintain your AI models to make sure that it's up to date. And that training of the model itself is extremely costly, right? And whether you can get scale on that and beat the market is a questionable thing. So yeah, that's my 2 cents worth for.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know whether we can flip back to one of the slides. Yes. I can maybe highlight to you some of the fintech that uses AI. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Give me. Yeah. All right, so these are some of the fintech that have a different specialization in their area, right? If you look under the finance and credit, like names like Credolab, Creditvidia, Lendo, EFL, they actually uses alternative data to try to credit rate an individual or a business, and use that information to make decisions about lending, whether how much they are willing to lend, and how much they're going to charge the customer, right? So that is one example. And then Endow Us and Cypher, those are these investment investment agent, where they actually use machine learning algorithm to streamline the entire assessment of the customers, as well as recommending investment product to them, and later on making reports about the performance of their products, of their services to them, right? So that is another example. If you look a bit further down, Gina.sg, under the InsurTech, Gina.sg actually has a chat bot where you can actually buy a travel insurance by messaging them. Give them your own personal information, where you want to go to, and they will come back with written insurance to tell you how much it will cost, and you can actually purchase your travel insurance through chatbots. So these are just some example. Yeah, but if you look at it broader, which I highlighted here, there is like just so many applications that you can see in the fintech world. Basically, AI, if you maybe you can, I'll put it this way: AI and IT is very different. AI and machine learning is about the creative use of data. If you have data, you can find many ways to use it. There's no limit to it. It's just up to your creativity. It's up to the ability of the AI engineer, the data engineers to find something out of it. Yeah, so I mean, just a quick summary on that.
Thank you. Wow, so many things out there. For some of you guys who are preparing to cut the check in AI, please, in case you have missed that picture earlier, do not worry, all right? Do not worry. I'm going to flash a QR code at the end of today's session, and you can send us an email with your emails and let us know how you feel about today's, and you can have a free copy of the presentation today. All right, so there's no need to take any pictures. Yes, we try to be, here in NUS, we try to be as productive as possible. But okay, all right, going forward, yes, now I know, right? For angel investors, right? For people who are young, who want to join fintechs, there's a lot of opportunities out there. A lot of people are using AIs. How about the MNCs and the big companies? What are they doing in this area itself? How are they using AIs to drive business, to do risk management? What are their opportunities and challenges over there? Gentlemen?
Yeah, maybe I'll share a little bit because I've been spending some time in IMDA, also, again, not as a regulator as well, but also industry development where I help corporates, big and small SMEs, MNCs to innovate digitally. So a lot of the questions that they always come with is also this, which is, okay, I want to innovate digitally. I've heard of this wonderful thing called generative AI. How can I use it? So essentially, that's, of course, again, not quite the right approach to take, because then you're actually just a hammer looking for a nail. I've been through some of these hype cycles as well, right? As Ming said, people came and say, hey, you know, metaverse is cool. What can I do? Metaverse X something, or AI X something. But actually, the answer is not quite that. The whole idea of innovation is really more going back to your user base and then seeing, okay, actually, what's some of the key problems that actually your user have, and then to be able to solve that. Some problem that your user values a lot of, and they're willing to pay for it. So I think that's one part. The second part of it, of course, for especially for MNCs in that sense, is that they sit on a treasure trove of data. They have a massive data advantage. If, of course, they have a data strategy, they can clean it up properly, right? They're able to then do a lot of machine learning to be able to optimize their algos to get to 0.001% of that. 99.999% of that accuracy. And when you're playing with that level of capital, every 0.1% actually counts a lot in that sense. So that is really their massive competitive advantage versus potentially like vis-a-vis financial startups in that sense, if they do get their act together to be able to do so. So essentially, I think my point is really to also look at it from the perspective of the users. That's one. Look at it from the perspective of the competitive advantage of your organization as well. It's not always the case whereby the startups with that newfangled AI technology is going to come and then take all your business away. Actually, a lot of incumbents have a massive advantage in terms of your data, in terms of your current user base, which startups have to burn a lot probably to acquire, in terms of the current kind of retail brick and mortar stores that you already have. That level of brand is something that you also should not underestimate. Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Because we have gone very far.
All right, okay.
A lot of ground is difficult to understand because the correlation, for example, when Professor James presented a keynote this morning, after he finished everything, I asked him, yours is centric, yours is centered. Like, what are different between centered and centric? Oh yes, he said. Why you didn't explain? And many things he talks about is outdated. Now here, for example, Mr. Grab, you see when you guys goes into SUV, what have you learned? The question of innovation, definition, whether it is original innovation or is it replication? Is it very much, most of them are copycat. Now the question is, what is the original? Because for example, in Singapore, you mentioned those are vertical that copycat. question is that we're just going through, it's expressway driving without understanding what we're doing.
All right.
And sir, because regulatory, why there is no Xbox possibility where governance, for example, they themselves are poor governance.
Yes.
Who govern them?
I agree.
Who govern the regulator?
Yep.
They make a lot of mistakes. GIC, Temasek, and so on, they're listening to MAS, but MAS is completely dumb. Okay, so here the question is that Singaporean, you ask yourself, you're Singaporean, you say, we are smart nation, but we are internet control. It's completely nonsensical.
Thank you so much for your questions. If I'm allowed to do an executive summary of this line of fantastic questions from this handsome gentleman. One is in terms of the tsunami of AIs, right? What are the problems? What are the new opportunities? Obviously, he has a check to cut, right? Yeah. So maybe just one liner from each and every one. So that's one. Now, number two is, in line of all the latest AIs, regulation, frameworks, everything that's coming, all right, I think since this morning, each and every one of you have heard our big keynotes and possibly also attended some of the earlier panels. You will be exposed to a whole gamut of knowledge over there itself. But I have an answer for you, which is in my next slides, right, which I'll show later. So I will answer the question number two. Question number three, I think is more importantly, is what do we do next? So, gentlemen, anyone?
Yeah, I think the AI and machine learning technology, it needs a lot of effort to really understand how it works. It is natural for people to feel apprehensive about the technology. A lot of unicorn, they build themselves leveraging on all this technology and become a lot more efficient and doing things in a different way that create value. And then to your questions, just on the participants' questions is, what is it in for? Where are the creative part about it? Maybe that is what part of your questions. Yeah.
So for example,
yeah.
beyond MML,
Yeah.
what are you doing? There's only one angle. There's only one platform. Why are we staying on that platform which is 20 seats?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Yes,
Sorry.
allow me to answer that later. But
Yeah,
maybe in the spirit of time, because we are trying to respect everyone's time over here.
Yeah.
So let's continue with
Yeah,
the.
just to close, I think the AI technology is going to advance a lot faster than we have experienced in past, right? So, and then the way large language model is progressing right now, large language model, this is how I see it, and I just want to share that with everyone, that, a lot of capability that is based on publicly available information, I think over time, a large language model will be doing it a lot more efficient than human being. However, most of us knows that when we go to the workplace, there's a lot of information that is not publicly available. And then you are able to add value in your business environment because you have certain proprietary information. Those proprietary informations are not captured in a large language model. And that gives room for companies to create their own, apply their own technology within their workspace to leverage on those information. And that can give you a competitive advantage over your competitor if you adopt those technology, right? Then the third area that all of us might want to consider is contextual information and contextual intelligence that you might have that even your colleagues might not have. To visualize this is that if you look at let's say you look at a sales team and then there are 10 salespeople, you will find that all 10 salespeople have the same access to information, but 2 of them just outperform the rest of it because they just have a better grasp of the contextual situation when it comes to sales, right? So those areas, I think AI would find it difficult to emulate. And that is where maybe human being has a competitive advantage. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, right. Just make two key points. In the sense of that, yes, I think while we say, hey, AI and ML are key competitive advantage, actually one thing we probably don't want to underestimate is superior execution. That's one of the hypotheses, right? In that sense of that, why Grab actually on Uber. in that sense. It was localized. It understood that actually cab drivers here today wanted cash in that sense. Uber was unable to provide for that. It understood that actually this was a localized play. You had to get into Indonesia, you had to get into Singapore, you had to get into Malaysia. You understood the local dynamics. Uber was playing a lot more about, I am operating from a US HQ, potentially I know best from that. I'm not gonna allow for cash on COD in that sense, cash on delivery. So there are parts of that where it is actually a lot more about superior execution. So my point is that AI cannot be the end-all substitute for business competitive advantage. I think that's one. Second point is really what are the kind of skills, right? We're not imagining that everyone overnight just becomes an AI, ML engineer or developer, etc. But there's a lot of adjacent skills that actually we will need to pick up. For instance, in the audit industry, for instance, when you're auditing banks today, AI apparently is going to disrupt a lot of the audits for banks, for healthcare institutions, for all organizations in terms of, say, auditing for ISO, etc. Right? Because basically you could actually put your documents in optical image recognition, and then you'll be able to say, okay, you've checked off some of this. But for AI, for auditing of banks, for instance, like AI systems, that's going to be a whole different world of work. The developers are not going to be interested in this because the developers will say, I want to focus on building the next best AI system in that sense, AI ML kind of machine learning system. But then the auditors, the risk and compliance teams will have to step up to be able to at least appreciate what an AI system can do and what kind of risks they need to watch out for and what kind of new evidence or processes they need to cite in an organization. And that's going to grow a lot more in prominence. Yeah.
Thanks, Kaijie. Yes. So I'm flashing this for all the ladies and gentlemen who would like to have a copy of the presentation slide today. I totally concur with what Kaijie has said. All right, we are at the nascency of an AI revolution right now. And our best defense is actually knowledge. And if you ask me, NUS, we are one of the top 10 schools, universities in the world itself. We have top researchers, we have top R&D guys, engineers. We are producing a lot of great people here. All of us, we are doing our very best to make sure that we arrive on top of this AI revolution. It's not an easy job to do. And really, you know, what I'd like to continue the conversation just a little bit on with Ming here is in terms of the AIs, you know, there are so many things. He himself has graduated from one of the top schools over in the States with a master's in engineering. And he has been dabbling with tech throughout his whole life itself. Right? Can you share with our audience a little bit of your personal journey and really illustrate how difficult it is for all of us to be navigating this complexity in AI in modern Singapore?
Thanks for that question, and it's quite close to heart because when I started Krux Asia after leaving Grab, my focus was on AI, and it was so new, and especially when Gen AI came out, I had no one to turn to but myself to start figuring these models out. So when people talk about trying to be able to learn coding, I think this is a basic skill set that we kind of all need. Right? Like, take away the nonsense about when Gen AI can do coding for you. I think that is great, but I think it's important to be able to learn about technology ourselves. And it's a constant learning journey. And this is something that doesn't stop. I think it is hard to kind of drill in the level of discipline that's needed in today's environment. Technology is moving so quickly. It's amazing. The things that you see coming out of the AI space is mind-boggling. And I think if you dive deeper, it is an incredible opportunity for us to kind of really take this on ourselves. But it really requires a lot of discipline. And I really fear for the fact that when we talk about all these things that you talk about data hygiene is so important today, right? Garbage in, garbage out. And AI is fundamentally built on that. And this level of discipline that we need, that my personal journey really reflects the need to just constantly upgrade ourselves, learn, interact, come to forums like this and exchange that information. I think that's one thing. The other thing to think about is also to force ourselves to really relook at the way we do things. This is by itself challenging, but coming back to the gentleman's question, I think the North Star, what we're trying to achieve here, is not trying to be something original. Kaijie mentioned this. We talked about it. It's fundamentally about value delivery, right? Value creation, value delivery, excellence in operations. That is also something that's really important, right? To be able to take that, do it on a day-by-day basis, keep the North Star of what you're trying to deliver value for your end users, and then use the skills that you have, the technology or the skills to have on a daily basis to get there. I think that's something that I try to adhere to on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, for some of you guys who are really struggling and are trying to look for outlets to pick up your knowledge, feel free to scan this. This is actually the mailing list for the Asian Institute for Digital Finance. This is one of the top institute here in NUS, in collaboration with MAS and NRF, National Research Foundation, as well as Monetary Authority of Singapore. So if you want to keep in touch with the latest regulation, the frameworks, what are the AI's impact in the area of digital and finance, please keep this. Feel free to take a snapshot and share with all your friends and colleagues who may need this. So in the spirit of time, I would like to perhaps invite all our panelists, who is very special to me, because one thing that I'd like to share, that all these three gentlemen are all lecturers, are all industry practitioners, first and foremost, but they are also lecturers here in the NUS. So Ming and Kaijie, they are both lecturers in the venture capital for fintech founders, right? This is one course, and both of them are our industry lecturers. And Prof. Ted is one of stunning examples of industry practitioners coming in and spend a lot of time here in NUS with the School of Business. I would like to give each and every one of them a short moment to close this up, right, and share with the audience how they feel about this AI revolution.
Yeah, I think a lot of people is very apprehensive about the development and speed of development of AI. I would suggest, if you're apprehensive at that, try your best to learn how AI and machine learning works. And you do not really need to have a STEM background to know it, because there are courses at NUS and elsewhere which will explain to you conceptually how it works. What is the difference between data science, machine learning, and AI and generative AI, how it actually works. And then once you learn that, then you actually could find the weaknesses of AI, and you will be less fearful about that technology, and you will be also more aware of how you need to use those technology, how an organization need to use it, those technology in a safe way. Those answers will come to you once you understand how the technology works. All right, thanks.
Well, quick one. I think summarize it in just 4 words. I think big, start small. The value that I talked about is the big picture that you need to kind of stay focused on. But with anything daunting, it always takes that small steps, right? And it's one step after another to kind of get you there. And that's kind of how I would approach AI in any space, or technology in any space.
Yeah, for me, I think beyond just AI itself, it's really also the disruption of actually how we learn as human beings. In that sense, traditionally we've always been classroom learning, right? We go into somewhere, sit there for 2 hours, and then we kind of like try to absorb all the knowledge. But there's a lot of democratization of learning today, and we all have to be very, very have to really see what works for us, especially in this very time compressed environment. Do we have like small 5-minute breaks and then be able to actually get, for instance, from YouTube, from ChatGPT, whatever you have, to be able to consume the kind of knowledge. So I think that's the other part that we should be always looking about as well.
Thank you. So really, also in response to the earlier participants, we can feel the fear in everyone, especially in this AI revolution. So much to learn. And all of us, we are working in the financial industries, and we are dealing with people's money. We are dealing with a lot of risk every single day. So to close it up, I would just like to say, a few years back, Singapore National Day is coming. A few years back, if you guys remember, we have a National Day song, right? Yeah, it actually goes something like this. In the face of the AI revolution, I don't know what will happen. But really, Singapore, we have shown that we have managed to overcome insurmountable problems. We have done it before, and we will be able to do it again. And with that, thank you very much. Please, big round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.